Good day. My name is Sarah Grace Atuan, and I am from class Z12 of GELITWO. And today, I am to present my synthesis for all of the topics and activities we have discussed and finished for all of the given modules of this term. Starting off with our first module entitled The National and the Global, as our subjects focus are the literatures that are prominent to the world, meaning we are to be involved in different literary materials from every part of the continent. We are to learn about the differences and their similarities, what are significant to these countries, and such. Before diving into these, we start off with the elements of fiction, which are what fictional stories are composed of. The following are characters, narrators' point of views, language, dialogue, setting, plot, theme, terms, devices, and style, and the structure of the story itself. Moving on, I have chosen one of the materials provided from our first module entitled The Taximan Story, which is a story about the Singaporean taximan and father of 8, recalling the everyday encounters he experiences and sees inside his taxi. To sum it all up, he focuses on the teenagers of this generation, how Singaporean teenage girls would sell their bodies to tourists for extra cash. Extremely revolted by this, yet he as a taximan is an instrument for these prostitutes to go to their designated places, showing how social constructs change throughout the years, and how even if we hold contempt to certain matters, we are still to be held accountable as we turn a blind eye on them. Lastly, I have chosen to dive deeper into vicious as this story greatly resonated with me. As a queer person myself, I felt strongly connected with Stuart as being unafraid of saying vertical yet obnoxious statements, not for the faint of heart. However, 48 years have passed since Stuart and Freddie have been together. Stuart has never mentioned of their love affair, not even once to his mother, which shows that even if the society is starting to open up for homosexual relationships, not all queers feel safe to the community, even to their closest relatives, which is still prominent in our generation. Next is our second module entitled The Empire Outside World Literature, Colonial Past and Post-Colonial Present, which is centered on materials that will make us contemplate on ideas regarding our identity, authenticity, and the world order. 3 key points that I'll be discussing that is essential to this module are: first, post-colonial literary theory, dealing with literature produced in countries that were once or are now colonies of other countries, which we can take for example Noloy Matangere and El Filibusterismo, which were written and derived from the reality of the Filipino people while we were all under the rule of these Spaniards. Next point to take in is hegemony, which is the dominant influence of a civilization, society, nation, or elite over others, usually used to describe nations that have ultimate power over other nations, in which we can also take into account Spain and how they have or took power over us and their other colonial territories through influencing trade, legal laws, economic system, military, technology, ideas, culture, globalization, and soft power, such as educational system or the media. Lastly, I would like to introduce the poem Telephone Conversation, which highlights the impact of racial discrimination in our society, with the story centering around 2 individuals, which is the man and the woman, which is a landlady. The man is about to rent an apartment, and while they were talking over the phone, the landlady eventually learned that the man is a black man. She goes on to discriminate showing how the effects of colonialism is still hindering the growth of our society. Last is our third module entitled Body, Mind, and Desire. Just like its title, this module focuses on how our body, mind, and desires take form and eventually result to scenarios which contribute to our personal development. In this module, we were given a few video materials to watch. The three that I have chosen to dive deeper on are Dear Evan Hansen, Vagina Monologues, and The Last 5 Years. Dear Evan Hansen is a musical that focuses on Evan Hansen, a high schooler who has severe social anxiety who has written a letter that was not supposed to be seen by anyone regarding his life. Eventually, this letter landed on the hands of Connor's parents, a guy who has died due to suicide. Evan assumed the identity of being Connor's friend and subsequently took advantage of this situation to gain the feeling of favoredness and belonging. This material is incredibly dark yet very realistic, giving the community a chance to become more aware of social anxiety and how to deal with it rather than neglect it. This is interconnected to our module as this represents how the mind works, how it affects our body, and how these factors form our desires, which in this situation are desire to feel loved and important. Next is Vagina Monologues, which is a one-woman play performed by Eve Ensler, exploring women's sexuality in a much straightforward way. What caught my attention the most in this material is its direct implication of how women think of their vaginas as often. Wondering how other women's vagina looks like and exploring their own body. It is incredibly eye-opening and also discusses women's sexual desires, yet still implies that women are more than just sexual objects. Lastly, The Last 5 Years is a perfect depiction of the cycle of human relationships, the beginning, how it grows, and how it ends. This is a play about a couple, Jamie and Kathy, showing how they started and how they eventually met, the end of their relationship. Narrated in a unique manner as the story starts from the end for Kathy's perspective and the beginning for Jamie, wherein they eventually meet at the middle, which was their wedding. Greatly symbolizes that it doesn't matter how the story has started or if it has already ended. What matters is the middle, the growth that we get from it. Again, this is Sarah Grace Atuan, and this is my synthesis.